going into conspiracy theories because you know how I'm big into that shit. Um, just a little bit, but there was one thing I read. I kind of firmly believe it. I don't know,
Kind of
but
firmly believe it.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. If it's right, then I believe it. If it's wrong, I don't believe it. Uh, but nah, I mean, I know my lane. Uh, so like, there's a whole thing where like, um, they were talking about how like, did the world really end in like 2012 ordeal?
It's just a simulation.
Well, not that, but there's the Buddhist theory from like because that's the whole Buddhist religion, is simulation theory. Um, I don't know if you're aware of that, but it is very interesting. But so
I thought that was like Baudrillard.
there's a few religions that practice simulation theory. So there's things where after 2012, people said that time went on faster. You know, like time just felt quicker
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, and
Yeah.
how when a lot of people talk about the best times of their years, some of the
Mm-hmm.
best times is like 2010, 2011, were like really good years for people. It's like emotional wise, mental wise, like that. But then after 2012, the world slowly started getting more and more chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked about how Stephen Hawking discovered, or was around when he discovered like the God particle,
Mm-hmm.
which essentially is a particle that created the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so then they're talking about like quantum physics and like shit, that theory, like linear time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he was talking about if the God particle activated, they're like, they don't really know what would happen because
Mm-hmm.
how also with the Mayan calendar as well, with all the leap years and stuff like that, it still have ended around the 2012 aspect or around now or something like that. No, it would
Yeah.
end around this time. The 2020 is when the Mayan calendar technically ends with all the leap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but without about the God particle aspect, which is actually like a science thing. Um, so where you know how like scientists study black holes, but no one really knows what happens if a black hole opens up, like if you get sucked in.
Right. A lot of that stuff is still like theoretical.
But the fact is, like black holes exist. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're talking about is that if the God particle did go off
Mm-hmm.
and created a sense of Big Bang, and to where if we got sucked in to the black hole, we wouldn't have really known
Mm-hmm.
because there's no telling if we did or didn't. Um, and they're like, what if we did, and this is just kind of the chaos theory ordeal? Uh, it's funny to think about, but these are like also scientists that like Stephen Hawking, it's like that. Like, there's no proof to back it up, but there are proof that these particles exist, but they're so dangerous and deadly.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you got to watch that leap in logic because
Oh,
sometimes we make the mistake of making a connection between two things that are actually unrelated or thinking that certain parts represent the whole or vice versa when oftentimes shit doesn't operate the same at an individual or particle level in the same way that it does at a grander scale. But really the whole thing about like, oh, the world falling apart since like 2012 and that's why everything's like this, really that's a very American-centric point of view because things have been fucked up in other countries for decades, sometimes centuries.
oh yeah, 100%. It kind of goes to where a lot of people talk about how like paranormal, like the paranormal aspects to where there's a lot of stories and folklore about how the dead isn't necessarily like dead, if they're on a different time, like a different plane
Right.
aspect. So it's almost like if you go into the chaos theory, if the God particle did go off and we got
Mm-hmm.
then it's like that we get put on a different plane.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's one of those things where it's like it's interesting to talk about and like
Mm-hmm.
get laugh at it, but the fact that there's like a lot of scientists that are high up there who are like, we have no proof that like it happens because we
Yeah.
die if we try practicing it.
Mm-hmm. And this is where we have to realize that a lot of science exists as theories or just philosophies and shit. Because the thing is, just as there have been plenty of people's theories that were proven when we have better technology or better processes or, whatever the fuck, the vast majority of ideas, even in the field of science, are disproven or shown to be not the full explanation for a situation, for something happening. Because I know what you're talking about, like astrophysics and theoretical physics, and talking about like, oh, like when like one of the bigger things was like, oh, string theory, finding the connection between things at all levels of existence. And it's like, no, at the end of the day, stuff just fundamentally acts different at a macro scale than it does at a micro scale. And I don't know exactly what Neil deGrasse Tyson has said on it, but I'm like, as smart and as brilliant as that motherfucker is, I mean, a lot of times he treats the physics and shit like his own religion. A lot of these motherfuckers, they treat it as they just take every speculation they have and say, well, I got this education because my mental processes work like this. Then, they always make this illusion that whatever, whatever fucking word vomit happens to come out of their mouth about a subject has, a level of gravity to it, even though there has been no there has been no actual scientific rigor to discover if there's any merit to it.
You've heard me jokingly say about it, but at the same time, I'm not really joking about how religion can be more than like a spiritual aspect. Like when I say, oh yeah, you vote or you're political, that's not my religion. Like, yeah, I'm joking about it, but much like how scientists talk about like it's their religion, like there's plenty of people who heavily practice politics who are like that same way. But, the reason why I read all the theories like this, because, I'm a film major. So I'm constantly trying to do like horror scenarios. It's wild shit, man. Just kind of like...
Bad noise.
Yeah, because, it helps me writing-wise. I'm trying to get like a good, scary story.
No, look, I'm wearing a Rick and Morty shirt right now. And Rick and Morty is a show that, dabbles in all of these theoretical things. And it's like, yeah, it's good to have a laugh and it's fun to experiment with those different thought processes and wondering what if and how things could be different.
He ruins the entire economic system for all the Ricks. He just sets their out to zero.
Yeah. Wait, was it Ricks or was it some other? Wasn't it some other type of creature?
No, it was
no. It was that Rick fucking world. And what's kind of funny is that it was also poking fun at our actual economic shit, because it is also just zeros and ones in a fucking computer, and none of this shit means anything. It didn't mean anything when it was as it's printed on bills. It didn't mean anything when it was printed on coins. It's like none of it is real. It's a symbol that we use to conduct things in a certain system.
I think we had this conversation at one point. Is the money in your bank account actually there?
No, of course not. We already know. I mean, that's not. We already know that.
And it's like, much like a $20 bill to me, like let's like taking a lot of reality out of here as well. But it's like, say you give me $20 or something, I could say that's not worth $20 to me. That's like that monetary value is nothing. So because literally, like you said, all it is like a faith and like a piece of paper. It's really crazy to where like if for some odd reason, this goes into like, like I said, a bunch of the movies I watch, like horror aspects like that. How they talk about like how art translates what people think of society or deal. Whereas like in the Apocalypse movie, it's like when that thing that gives like the money power is just disappeared, it's still worth anything.
No, I mean, once again, these are, it's once again, it's fun to, think about this shit and wonder, it's like, what's really holding these things together? And it's like, really the thing that I've kind of come to is that just because things operate as a symbol or things operate as a performance doesn't mean that there's no value in that. Like like whatever we call it, whatever we refer to it as, there has to be some means of conducting transactions for goods and services that people want and can provide, based on what it is that they can offer in return.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you can say on one hand, well, yeah, money is just real. It's not real. Okay, but how else are we supposed to fucking do this? Because we tried to have a gold standard and shit, right? And actually price it to the actual amount of gold. But when you price it to the actual existence, the finite amount of something, it fucks up your whole economy.
So I have DVDs that are worth $2 to $5. And
the $500.
Yeah, I got some expensive ass movies, dude.
Jesus Christ, how's that even legal?
A lot of it is just like rarity stuff like that. It goes into what's banned in America. Censorship laws. How many of these movies are actually printed? Movie that's terrible, dude. It's called The Last House on Dead End Street. Movie fucking sucked.
Oh, it sounds like it was going to be a bridge burner for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so fucking corny though. I'm so fucking corny though. Like I never heard of people paying exorbitant prices for dumb shit.
yeah,
Like that's just market economy. Like
yeah. But like to me, it's one of those things to where there's not that many of it made. Like there's only like a certain amount made. You can't even find any of these copies online really anymore, right? Of the original version that was made. And
yeah.
also talk about value. It's like, yeah, the last house on Dead End Street is probably like $100 right now.
Mm-hmm.
For me, knowing how rare it is, it's almost priceless. Like I wouldn't let that movie go for like $300. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's that to be to me. Like I got like my favorite movie called a Serbian film. I had the banned U.S. version, which is the director's cut. You know that you have to go through loopholes just to get in America. You
Mm-hmm.
know? So to me, I paid $2.50 for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to you, you pay $1.